My parents cut me off 5 years ago, then demanded to sell my house to pay my sister's $150K debt. When I refused, they broke in with baseball bats and destroyed the living room, causing $40,000 of damage to take revenge on me, only to discover it wasn't my house anymore. When the police arrived, they desperately called me for help. 3 months ago, I watched my parents swing a baseball bat through a complete stranger's living room, thinking they were destroying my life. Turns out, they were handing me the greatest gift I never knew I needed: freedom from the people who were supposed to love me most. I'm Vivian, and I need to tell you about the day I discovered that sometimes the most toxic people in your life share your DNA. It all started with $120,000 and a family dinner that would change everything forever. But to understand why that money almost destroyed my life, I need to take you back 5 years to when I still believed that blood meant loyalty and love was supposed to be unconditional. I was 28 then, living in a studio apartment that was basically a glorified closet. Every single day for 4 years, I'd wake up in that cramped space and remind myself why I was doing this, why I was eating canned beans for dinner, why I was taking the bus instead of owning a car, why I was buying clothes from thrift stores and celebrating birthdays with gas station cupcakes. $120,000, that's what freedom looked like to me, enough money to buy a house, to finally have a space that was truly mine. Every dollar represented a choice, a sacrifice, a dream, deferred but not abandoned, late nights, debugging code until my eyes burned, weekend freelance projects while my friends were out living their lives. It was all worth it, because I had found her the perfect 3-bedroom craftsman with hardwood floors and a kitchen that caught the morning light like liquid gold. Every Saturday, I'd drive to my parents' house for our weekly family tradition. Mom would make her famous meatloaf. Dad would complain about his back while secretly loving having both his daughters around the table, and Melissa, my older sister, by 3 years, would show up with Andrew, her husband, who always seemed to be chasing the next get-rich-quick scheme that would make him wealthy without actually working. That particular Saturday in October felt different from the moment I walked in. There was this electricity in the air, this sense that something big was about to happen. Melissa and Andrew were whispering in the corner like conspirators. Mom kept shooting me these strange looks, part excitement, part calculation. Dad couldn't quite meet my eyes during his usual complaints about the neighbor's dog. I was too caught up in my own excitement to pay attention to the warning signs. I had pictures of the house on my phone ready to share my joy with the people who were supposed to celebrate my success. "Melissa has some wonderful news," Mom announced as we settled around the dining room table, her voice carrying that particular tone she used when she was about to ask for a favor. What happened next still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. Melissa didn't just tell us about her new business venture. She gave us a full presentation, printed charts, graphs, projected revenue streams, market analysis. This was her third attempt at entrepreneurship, and apparently she'd learned nothing from the first 2 spectacular failures that had forced my parents to remortgage their house, to pay off her debts. "I've learned from my mistakes," she said, her eyes bright with that dangerous combination of desperation and delusion that I'd seen too many times before. "This time, I have everything figured out. I just need capital for initial development and marketing." Andrew nodded beside her like the perfect supportive husband playing his role to perfection. "The projections show we could double our investment within 2 years. That's when they all turned to look at me, not casual glances, deliberate expectant stares that made something cold settle in my chest. "Why are you all looking at me like that?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. Melissa's voice took on that sweet, manipulative tone she'd been perfecting since we were kids. "Well, I know you're saving for a house, and Mom mentioned you have about $120,000 saved up." The room went silent, except for the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. They had discussed my finances, they had calculated exactly how much I was worth to them. I wasn't their daughter, their sister. I was a walking ATM with a convenient family connection. "I'm not investing my house money in your business." "Melissa," the words came out sharper than I intended, but honestly, I was shocked by the audacity. This wasn't a small favor between siblings. This was my entire future. They were asking me to gamble on Melissa's track record of spectacular business failures. Melissa's face crumpled like I'd physically struck her. "But if you help me now, in 2 years, I'll give you back $240,000. You could buy an even better house." Then I actually laughed. I couldn't help it, the absurdity of it all, the woman who'd failed at business twice asking me to trust her with my life savings based on nothing but optimism and pie-in-the-sky projections. "Melissa, you've already failed at business twice. Maybe it's time to stop with these schemes. And get a regular job like the rest of us." That's when everything exploded. Melissa burst into tears and ran from the room like we were still teenagers having a dramatic fight. Andrew called me heartless and followed her, and my parents, the people who had raised me, who had supposedly loved me unconditionally for 28 years, immediately turned on me like I was the villain in this story. "How could you be so cruel to your sister?" Mom's voice was ice cold, cutting through me like a blade. "Melissa is more talented than you'll ever be. You're just jealous of her success." Success. I wanted to scream. What success? The 2 bankruptcies, the creditors calling their house at all hours, the stress that had given Dad panic attacks and sent him to the emergency room, but Dad delivered the killing blow. "You give Melissa that money or you're no longer part of this family?" I stared at these people, these strangers wearing my parents' faces, and realized that to them, I had never been a daughter. I was a bank account with a heartbeat, a resource to be tapped when needed. I'm not giving her my money. I said quietly, then get out of our house and don't come back. So I did. I walked out of that house, drove home to my cramped apartment, and changed my phone number the next day. If they wanted to cut me out of the family over money, I'd make it official. 1 year later, I bought that house, the same beautiful craftsman with hardwood floors and morning sunlight streaming through the kitchen windows. I set up my home office in the spare bedroom and discovered what peace actually felt like. No more Saturday dinners, walking on eggshells. No more listening to Melissa's latest delusional business plans.